Hi. Last week of Boys and Girls Club observations for CNT 235. And in class, we were watching this lecture about how the system of oppression has been set up. And a lot of it was reflecting on, how things came to be, how the power, the dominant group basically, is allowed to enforce its oppression, which got me thinking about the staff and student interactions at Boys and Girls Club. And when we started watching the documentary on, I believe, Monday or Wednesday, I left class thinking, I should do some observations on how the staff and the students tend to interact. And I've been noticing this all semester, so I thought, for my final video I would do a reflection on it. The one thing I noticed more than anything else is the staff typically does call on male students more often than they do female students. This isn't to say that they aren't acting out at equal rates. Boys tend to act out at more numerous accounts than girls do. But when the girls act out, they aren't called out on it as much. Even if it's something as simple as the rule where you have to wear your shoes the entire time, if a boy were to do it, he would get caught, and he would, 9 times out of 10, he would get told to, go put his shoes back on. A girl hasn't typically been asked to do the same. And this kind of, I don't want to call it an oppressive culture, but there's not a term I can think better than that, causes the boys to feel like they need to act out more, I feel, which leads to boys acting out in higher numbers than girls do. And then going off of the boys acting out, the boys tend to get more punitive actions for whenever they cause a disturbance. And this can range from anything from losing power hour time, or to having to fill out a think sheet and talking to mom and dad. And that's a lot more common than it is for girls, I think. I've been there for about 12 weeks, and I haven't noticed really any kind of punitive actions against the girls when they act out. But I have noticed a significant amount of punitive actions against the boys. And that can be tied back to gender studies that we've learned throughout the course. Something I noticed kind of right off the bat too, within the first 2 to 3 weeks, was the interactions between staff members and students from bilingual backgrounds. Predominantly in this elementary school, it seems like there's mostly Pacific Islander type students. They're probably first or second generation students, and they're bilingual. They prefer to speak in their native tongue. Their English is not the best by American standards, and the staff doesn't seem to acknowledge that all that much. So they're less, I say less understanding. They're less, they won't wait as long for those students to kind of do the right thing that they're supposed to do, it seems like, most of the time. Just because they become aggravated that the student isn't understanding what is expected of them, which can be tied back to ideas like the hidden curriculum. Because these students don't understand, that they're forced to know both their culture, and then they're supposed to already know our culture, which the documentary talked about that we watched this week. And then the last thing, like I mentioned in another one of my previous videos when we were talking about students with disabilities, is the staff has even admitted, some of the staff members I've worked with, they have admitted that they do not feel trained to to work with disabled students. There is a case of a student who they don't know any other way to treat the student other than by letting them have special privileges when it comes to working on homework. Like the student has to sit in a rocking chair to be able to focus and get their homework done. And the staff members that I've talked to say that they do not feel like they're the best equipped to deal with students with disabilities. So that is what I've noticed for my final Boys and Girls Club observation, looking at staff and student interactions.